Excuse me, sir. Sir, question for you.
Yes.
How old were you when you made your first million?
Me personally, not the business?
Yeah, personally.
42.
And what line of business are you in?
I'm in software.
Yeah? And do you think I could interview real quick? I have one of the biggest business media channels in the entire world. I go all over interviewing the most successful people.
I think I've heard of you guys.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'd love
Would
to
you want me to
talk
with you? Is that cool?
That would be awesome.
Awesome. How long have you been a business owner?
This particular company, almost 20 years, and I had one before that for about 6.
What was the turning point like getting into software? Did you always know that you were going to pursue software or like how did you end up in this business?
So I started in tech as a young man, and in my case, that was 40 years ago, in IBM, which is a big tech firm that we all still know. But I didn't kind of move towards software until I was in the industry about 15 years, and then came to Austin to work for a company here. Kind of got the bug of the startup game, and then 3 other buddies and I started one in 2000. That was our first company.
Actually. What was the most amount of money that you made in a single year?
The company?
Yeah.
We're over $850 million in revenue.
Over 850 million?
Yes.
What was the best advice you ever received throughout your career? The most pivotal, life-changing advice that you received in business or anything? What was the best advice you ever got?
I'm going to hesitate to say this is the only great piece of advice I got, but I've given this piece of advice to a lot of people in business setting. And an older guy that when I joined IBM in the 1980s said, look, my advice to younger folks is to spend about 90% of your time on your job and 10% on your career. And I'm like, what does that mean? And he said, look, if you spend 100% on your job, you're going to do a really good job at the job you're in, but nobody's ever going to see you moving beyond that job because you aren't making connections. You're not thinking beyond it. Where do you go next? On the other hand, if you drop it to like 80-20, spend 80% on your job and 20% run around your career, you're not going to do a good enough job. You're only putting 80%. So he's like, the right balance is put most all of your energy, 90-ish plus percent, into doing a great job with where you're at, but you always want to reserve like 10% of your capacity, make connections, learn about what it takes to go to the next level. How do I become an entrepreneur if I've never been an entrepreneur? How do I get into that industry if I'm in another industry? You're always thinking about stretching and growing, but that's about 10%. And if you keep that balance, I think that's a really healthy piece of advice.
You sold hundreds of millions of dollars in the tech industry. Somebody wants to break into the tech industry right now. Give them a hack to sell their product at a large scale.
I think, to be fair, in my case, and again, we're selling that kind of dollars to large scale companies. So we're selling to big businesses.
So you're selling to big businesses. So in other words, you got to solve those $100,000 million problems.
That's where I was going. And you got to have people that know what they're doing. That's where I was going. Like, you got to have software engineers, you got to have salespeople, marketers that understand that large business environment because it's very different from small business, which is different from consumer.
But so you said you're selling to tech giants, though.
Oh, yeah. We're selling to the biggest companies in the world.
Like what?
Like the Fortune 500. Half of them are our customers. Yeah.
So when you're approaching them, when you're selling to them, what does that conversation look like? How do you sell to a tech giant like
Well,
that?
you know what? It's not one conversation. Our sales cycles can be a year or longer, and it can be 50 people in the organization that we got to talk to.
What is the biggest thing that the deal depends on?
Well, ultimately, and it's a team decision typically on the customer side, it's going to come down to, do they believe we're the best partner, I'll use that term, the best company that's going to solve their problem? And if they don't believe that, they're not going to spend the millions of dollars to buy your product.
How do you effectively communicate that when you're in a conversation?
You got to show them. There's proving it by showing them. Often there's these things called proofs of concept or pilot where you're showing them the tech. You got to have typically very strong references. They got to go, I want to see 5 other people like me that already use this. So the hardest part of a business like ours is the early days when you don't have those references yet. You got to find people that will trust you with a new technology. But once you're bigger and we're there, we're using our existing references to help our new potential prospects trust that we can solve their problem.
How old are you now?
62.
I would have guessed like 40. But real quick though, I'm in my 20s. Your last message to somebody in their 20s trying to build $1 billion company in today's world. They want to become successful like you. Give them one more nugget about business, one more piece of advice. Your last message to the younger generation trying to become successful.
Surround yourself with a great team.
It all comes down to people.
Never do this by yourself.
Yeah.
Find the right team, get the right people around you, and then go after a great problem. You got to have a big enough market problem to get to $1 billion business for sure, but you got to have the right team to get it done.
How did you identify $1 billion problem?
I had been in this space a long time, been around security for big companies, so we had seen a lot of what worked and what didn't, and ultimately we saw things emerging that looked like they could be big problems. And look, I will tell you the truth, this problem, this space has gotten bigger than we ever thought it would. So some of it is sometimes markets evolve in ways you can't predict, and it's actually made our space even more attractive. But we knew it'd be a good space, it's become a great space.
Do you believe in God?
I don't just believe in him, I follow him.
Did you always believe in God?
Yes, I did.
Talk to me about how important faith has been for you building $1 billion company.
Well, to me, the faith thing has a number of aspects in my life. It means part partly because I felt like Jesus lived this way. I value all the people in my life. They don't have to join me in my faith view. They don't have to be having the same belief system as me, but I want to care about them, right? Jesus famously said, do unto others the way you like them to do unto you. Treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Well, if you live that way, you're going to have a pretty good life. You're going to treat people the way they want to be treated. They're going to feel good. They're going to feel valued. So that's core. And I think the other part of the faith thing is kind of, to use an overused term maybe, what's your identity? My identity is not in being a business guy or an entrepreneur, right? My identity is being a child of God. But I happen to be an entrepreneur. I'm also a husband and a father and a bunch of other things that are super important to me. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to base my worth on whether my business works or not. I'm happy that it's been great. The Lord blessed me a lot in our business, blessed our people. But at the end of the day, that's not how I value myself. The business could go away tomorrow and I'd be okay.
You got amazing advice, my friend.
Well, thanks.
Thank you
It's
so
fun
much for
chatting
your
with you.
time. I really appreciate that.